And welcome back to another episode of Kris Yeti's News Review. This is going to be a huge one for us this week. This is the first of the year. It's 2023, the first episode of the entire year. This is going to be great. And there's plenty of news, as always, that needs to be ripped apart and deconstructed and put back into place where it never belonged in the first place. There's all sorts of news inbound everywhere we go. We got Russia, we got a new pope, we got Salt Bae making a jackass of himself. The list just goes on and on and on. Let's get right into it. All right, the latest in global news with Russia and Ukraine. Of course, they're taking the war straight into 2023. Now, I don't condone war. I don't think that it's the best way to resolve things, and it's a very complex topic among the nation's governments. However, here we are, nevertheless. All we can do is really evaluate the situation and make drastic opinions and defend opinions and attack other people's opinions in hopes that someday the right opinion changes Putin's mind and he decides to do something different, or changes Ukrainian minds and they decide to do something different. But in the latest headlines, I don't know if you saw this, Russia is now upping their attacks to long missile attacks that are being shot from places near Moscow all the way down to the southern tip, attacking Ukraine. Ukraine had responded openly, calling it senseless barbarism. While this is partly true, I must also say that you are involved in war, and just calling them attacking you barbarism, I think we're kind of past that stage, all right? You guys have been fighting, throwing punches back and forth. Ukraine isn't as helpless as they would like to be put out and described as. Ukraine is packing quite the punch. Russia has their own strategy for throwing these missiles, and of course, it's unfortunate when civilians get in the way, and it's unfortunate when even soldiers get in the way. I mean, I like how people are separating civilians with soldier casualties since the beginning of dawn. I mean, really, if you're in the middle of a war zone, it's best just to pack up and move away. I mean, Russia escalating the situation isn't just their fault. And again, as long as it's not escalating to nuclear warfare, I think everyone's going to be okay. Except for those guys who aren't okay. But that's war. And once you go to war, you can't start cherry picking who's doing the right thing or who's doing the wrong thing. It really seems like the US does not want the war to end. They just want to keep sending hardware over there in hopes that they get more money or they get more beta testing for their equipment. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens by the end of this year. My guess is that the war is going to wrap up around the end of this summer, and hopefully with as few casualties as possible. And thankfully, Ukraine seems to be doing okay. They've shot down 54 of the past 69 missiles lobbed at them. Last time I checked, that's at least an A. We'll be sure to revisit what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine situation next week. So have you guys heard about Trump lately? He's in the news again. Nothing particular or interesting. So we're just going to move right on. Now on to other news. You might have heard this, you might have not heard it, but there's a new pope coming to town. Who do we know this pope is? Nobody really knows. It's a completely set up system, and it's guaranteed to be one of the red cardinals. They're going to step into place in this very ancient religious system. This religion is constantly under fire for covering up complications and illegal matters with underage children. It's really kind of amazing that somebody like Jeff Epstein gets the entire world putting a spotlight on him to the point where he commits suicide. And then you have the Catholic Church, who is constantly covering up their own people that are committing crimes against minors. Somebody tell me in the comments below why Jeffrey Epstein was in the situation that he's in, but the Catholic Church continues to get hailed and continues to get a new pope, and these guys don't go after these pedophiles in their own organization. They do it quietly. It's not just one or two, which is a problem all on its own. It's dozens or hundreds of cases per year. It's ridiculous. So quite frankly, it doesn't matter which new pope goes into office, because the new pope is just going to be one of the old pope's henchmen. So it's going to be literally the same thing over and over and over again. The Catholic Church isn't going to change. They're just going to become less and less purposeful over the decades and century to come. It wouldn't surprise me in the next 100 years if the Catholic Church is just consolidated to Rome itself with a small few followings. The mass public can only put this out of their eye for so long. In the next 100 years, there's going to be a massive awakening for the Catholic Church because of the crimes that they have been committing. It's funny, all these crimes, and then you have the one pope who just goes around waving and telling people, you need to be nicer to each other. But every time they replace the pope, it just feels like that, what was that show, Doctor Who? Where every time he was mortally wounded, he would just respawn himself like some video game character in a new costume. That's what the Pope is like. They just die and respawn. They put on the same old outfit like that Christmas movie with Tim Allen. You know, the one where the Santa fell off the roof and then Tim Allen put on the Santa Claus outfit and then all of a sudden, poof, he became Santa Claus. So that's probably very similar to what becoming the new Pope is like. You find the old Pope on the ground, and then you take off his robe and you put it on, and the next thing you know, you turn into a bald white guy and you start speaking Italian, and all you can ever say is, you know, peace be with you, God loves you, don't worry about all those child molesters in the organization. None of it matters. Just all you need to know is the popes will continue on for the rest of time. But that's just news in Italy. We, of course, need to go all the way over to the Middle East where FIFA is being held this year, the World Soccer Cup. It doesn't matter who won FIFA because apparently the only guy who actually won was our buddy Salt Bae. I don't really know his name, but he's known across TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all these other videos as just Salt Bae. And all he does is own an incredibly overpriced steak restaurant in Las Vegas. And he goes around to each table. He'll sit there and be like, how many different examples could you imagine Salt Bae having to come over and sprinkle salt on your food? Now, I've heard some of his dishes exceed $1,000 just to have gold leaf put on top of a mediocre steak. If you look at these videos here, Salt Bae goes around to each table, fanciful cutting of each piece of meat. It may or may not have gold leaf on it. Gold leaf doesn't matter. It doesn't impact the taste of your steak. So I don't know why you put it on there, okay? Just go buy gold leaf and put it on McDonald's French fries and call it 10 times better than whatever Salt Bae is putting in his restaurant. I mean, these people are suckered out of their money for the amount of price that he's charging for a prime rib. I don't care how good the prime rib is, it cannot and should not exceed $100 for a prime rib, period. But this guy is charging completely outrageous prices to go around, chop, 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 sprinkle a little salt, maybe in it a little bit, and then he goes and grabs a slice and gets his grimy fingers all over it. Sometimes I've seen gloves, sometimes I've just seen his skin, which is very similar to that of a sushi restaurant, and they grab it and he puts it in your mouth. He puts it in your mouth with a knife. I mean, God forbid he ever seizures one day and then he's just like, he just like carves up the face of his customer because he can't control himself anymore. I don't want to be there when Salt Bae gets too old to control himself and be the first person to discover that putting a knife in someone's mouth is probably not a great idea, even if you're spending $1,000. Oh, this guy. But here he is. He somehow got past security in the soccer tournament, or sorry, my European subscribers, the football tournament in the Middle East. And he goes there with the trophy and he starts doing his salt thing. If this guy's gravestone doesn't have that exact same image where he's sprinkling salt on top of his own grave, then he's wasted his entire life, okay? This guy shows up and he sprinkles his imaginary salt on anything and everything, and he thinks he can get away with it. I mean, look at that face. This is not a face of somebody who is innocent of many, many things. I don't know what we could accuse him of. I'm not going to accuse him of anything, but I'm also not going to come out and say that he's just an innocent looking guy. His aggressiveness in an outside country, in a sport that has nothing to do with him, he just jumps in there and starts trying to sprinkle salt on the goddamn trophy. I mean, he at least could have taken the extra effort and put real salt on the trophy, and now there's no salt on the trophy. I think that's what FIFA is mostly upset about. He comes in and takes the camera light and sprinkles nothing. He's sprinkling like a meme. I say we call out right now and no more Salt Bae sprinkling, all right? If you're with your friends and family, no more. If you want to go and have your steak fingered and knifed by Salt Bae in Las Vegas for $1,000, be my guest. But that is the last place I'm gonna spend my money, is in Salt Bae's restaurant. This guy is a joke. Is he financially successful? To some degree, but that doesn't mean you're not a joke. Just because you make a lot of money sprinkling salt on people's steak, for Christ's sake. All right, we're gonna move on to an article written and published by an employee at PC Gamer. Everyone here has seen PC Gamer. They are one of the top 10 news publishers of PC gaming news, and it's on their name, PC Gamer. There's a writer named Tyler Wilde. I think it's Wild. Here's his spelling right here. All right. He goes out on a limb and decides to publish an article talking about how internet bullying has caused a problem with companies publishing NFTs in their game. This is absolutely ridiculous. First of all, Tyler, I'm going to talk to you for a second here, okay? A, you are using the term bullying because you see people cussing out NFTs online in various places, and you wrap all that together in the sense of saying, oh, these guys are bullying this one situation because they're being mean about it. So therefore, it must be the problem of said bullying than the actual problem itself. You know what the problem is? The problem, Tyler, are NFTs. It's not the blockchain technology that's the problem. It's how we are using and abusing the blockchain technology. Everything from crypto to NFTs is nothing shy of just a money-grabbing organization. Everything from Bitcoin to altcoin to NFTs, every ounce of it is nothing more than people trying to make a quick buck. So when you go around and blame the internet public, like Reddit and Twitter and all these other places for bringing accurate attention and accurate problems to NFTs, and then you turn around and dare say that they're bullying the NFT space so that they're not in video games, it's somehow their problem or their fault? This is ridiculous, Tyler. Whose side are you on? I actually suspect that Tyler here has a boatload of NFTs, and he's just upset that he's losing money because the whole NFT space is being called out for what it is, and that is a scam. I'm sorry if you've bought into NFTs. Prove me wrong in the comments below why an NFT is not anything but a scam. Why is it anything but an absolute money rush from people who just want, oh, buy these images from me because you're gonna make a lot of money off of it. That's everywhere I go on the internet. All I see is NFTs talking about how much money you could make. I go and buy NFTs just to flip them, just to make a few bucks. That robs the purpose of NFTs in the first place. And NFTs and blockchain, like cryptocurrencies, they are all surrounded by people that only want to make money. None of these people want to go out and use Bitcoin as an actual currency. They buy Bitcoin because they think Bitcoin is going to double their money in 3 weeks. But lately, all it's done is cause everybody to lose money. Blockchain technology is phenomenal. It's an example of where human economics is going to go in the next 100 years. But people don't understand. It's not going to be some glorious scenario where you have Bitcoin and NFTs and lots of people are rich and just giving money out. Blockchain technology is just equal to that of plumbing technology, your electrical grid, your water faucets, everything that you take for granted. Everything that's available to you just at the click of a button for $100 a month, it doesn't affect us. We don't go out and be like, oh man, I could make some money on my electrical grid. Let me just go ahead and sign up for that service and, squeeze it for what it's worth. No, blockchain is going to eventually become a utility. NFTs may someday become something actually for the artist who made them, but for now, for every artist who actually makes an NFT with the genuine purpose of this is my art and I don't want it to be stolen, there are 100 more examples of people just flooding the market to make a quick penny. That's it. It's all a scam, Tyler. Every single drop, every single ounce just wants your money, and then you're turning around and blaming the public for making it a bad situation. No, don't blame the public for the use of everybody who's sitting there selling stuff. Just as simple as that. Don't do it. I can't believe PC Gamer editor let this guy publish this crap. The only thing I can think of is they wanted them to publish it so it can get some nasty comments below to the fever that I'm explaining right now. Tyler, you continue your clickbait articles, and I'll continue mine, and we'll see who comes out on top. And of course, in entertainment today, you know who's in the news? Jeremy Renner, the guy who played Hawkeye. You know, the guy who struggled to get through Avengers and barely made a reasonable appearance. I mean, there are so many superheroes in the Marvel universe, and they bring in Hawkeye, and they try to make him work so many times over. But the only way you can make Hawkeye work is if he shoots arrows like everybody else, but 1,000 times better. And he can just magically make the arrows that he wants. Anyways, the guy got hurt in some kind of weather-related snowplow incident. Let me say that again. Weather-related snowplow incident. Now, the local police force has not come out and said what specifically happened, but apparently Mr. Hawkeye is in grave injury. Now, this part is unfortunate, and it is completely separate from his mediocre career as Hawkeye. And really, Disney didn't do him any favor by coming out with a TV show. Okay, Jeremy got paid, I'm sure, very handsomely to create this TV show, but the TV show is going to be forgotten. Nobody's ever going to watch it again. All right, I bet there are 0 views on his TV show this week. Hawkeye just isn't an interesting character, at least what they have portrayed in the films. And then when the TV show came out, they just had an entire show about him, but not with him. And it was all these supporting cast. And of course, it was about the perfect, flawless female who's going to jump in there and kick ass and take names, ask questions later, and they will always be 100% right. Well, of course, the male, Hawkeye, is going to be susceptible to everything wrong. Disney is not on the best path forward for the next 10 years. And they just brought back the last CEO who made all of this modern content possible. Let's brace yourselves, guys. He's going to double down on this direction, and there's going to be more content that nobody's going to watch, and there's going to be more forceful social environments that nobody's going to care about in 10 years. Can we just get a Marvel show about Marvel instead of trying to force Marvel into our own reality of world because of representation? You know what I want to see when I watch a fiction show about a guy who can shoot anything and everything? Fiction. I want to see him do things that are impossible, but they keep trying to squeeze it into our reality. I hope that Jeremy recovers soon. I'm not sure what happened. But clearly, he didn't see what was going on because he got injured. I mean, hopefully he didn't fall over and get ran over or fall over and get... It probably had something to do with falling over. I mean, plow-related incident. It's either he fell over or the plow fell on him and crushed himself. They say it's a serious incident, but I think he's going to be okay. So, Jeremy, if you're watching this, hats off to you, but you need to move on to better roles in your life. Forget Hawkeye. He's done. Stop milking that cow. Either retire from acting or find something better. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode, folks. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and tell your friends about this channel. I think we're going to do really excellent at crushing the news. Remember, I hate the news, so you don't have to. So until next time, cheers and good night.